Alright guys, what's up? That's MLB strategy video. EMAC filling in for Josh and myself. We're giving Josh a breather after all his hard work leading up into NFL last week. So we got EMAC here, just like we had on the Saturday show. And it's going to be a good show. We got a 10-game slate. EMAC, how you doing? How was your NFL Sunday?
I'm doing all right. I survived. I had, as we were talking pre-show, a ton of Mr. Fournette, who succumbed to a hamstring injury, and his team really didn't need him. Don't think I had any Saquon Barkley, but that's okay. And then Operation Fade Alvin Kamara was not a success because sadly he turned his 17 touches into, almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kind of hard to overcome that, but fortunately, the old fantasy cruncher, along with projections here at Osimo, hooked me up with Fitzmagic, which is going to save my week.
Yeah, that'll help. Definitely the 45 points or whatever out of the old Fitzmagic. So I did not have a lot of Fitzpatrick. Got some decent primetime lineups going now that Rodgers came back. So that's my only hope to get back to even here, but we'll see. Maybe MLB goes a little bit better today.
I think we have a nice chance. This is going to be one of those slates that's not really for the faint of heart because there are going to be a variety of approaches, and I think this slate today is going to be best suited for those that are playing a lot of lineups. Mm-hmm. Because I think we're going to want to look at pricing on the different sites. We have some wild pitching pricing, particularly on DraftKings, which is what we'll be focusing on for today. And then we do have some aces involved here. We have Corey Kluber, who will be the top guy, but then there was a little bit of a rain out there with the Mets. Yep. So we get a bit of a gift because they pushed back DeGrom. They went with Corey Oswalt on Sunday because they said, it's going to be a little bit of rain. Now, there's supposed to be a lot of rain today, so we may not be getting DeGrom once again. But we shall see. Did you play any at all yesterday?
Baseball? No, I didn't. I just focused on Fantasy Country for NFL. Oh, and by the way, you guys can use that. Anybody can use it right now on the Osmo website. Just go to osmo.com, click on the Fantasy Cruncher, click on whichever sport you're looking to make, whichever site you're looking to make lineups on, and you can test it out, I think, for the next couple days. So do that. It'll be available as an add-on after that. But yeah, I was just on Fantasy Cruncher, crunching like 450, I think, 450 NFL lineups across the different sites. So it was fun. They didn't end up being profitable, but I definitely like the Sunday morning vibe, so didn't focus on baseball. It was
good. I was doing the projections here at Osmo, so of course I had to play, and did pretty well actually. I did like $10 in play. I won 2 Millionaire Maker tickets, nice, which are worth $20 a piece, and about $11 of cash because I just crossed out every game that looked like it was going to have bad weather. Did my crunch. And then went back to trying to chase some NFL overlay, and it turned out well for me. I played the afternoon slate additionally, and that one did pretty well as well. Why, oh why, was it only when I was playing just pocket change? But I'll take the victory there.
Seems like that's always the case, right? You lower your buy-ins or whatever, and you just have a really awesome lineup, and your ROI is great, but you end up winning like $20. I've done that a bunch of times. I know it's not always the case, but it seems like that happens a lot.
Indeed. Those are the ones so that we remember in any event. But we've got, 12 total games, 10 on the main slate here. Let's hit the highlights as I see our viewers are starting to wake up, grab that second cup of coffee, and join us here. We've got the early slate. We're not going to focus on that one, but it starts at 6:10. We've got Houston and Detroit. That would be, of course, Justin Verlander heading back against his former squad, going against Francisco Liriano. And then the other game, which does have a little bit of weather potentially, is the Dodgers in Cincinnati. And that's going to be a pair of southpaws. That's Alex Wood and Cody Reed. So we've got 3 lefties, 1 righty. We don't want to play Reed or Francisco Liriano. That's going to be a little tough because if you try to make a build on the 2 pitcher sites with Verlander and Wood, you're going to be picking some players going against Verlander and Wood because of the dynamic pricing. No issue doing that, but I think we can mostly skip this early slate.
Yeah, not really interested in playing this. I don't know if you have any take. I mean, I of course like Dodgers bats against Cody Reed, but everyone's going to. So I don't even know if you can fit him in with Verlander. You may want to look into relievers if you're looking to play the slate and play Verlander, because it's either that or you're playing Cody Reed. But it's just going to be tough to make it fit with all the bats you want.
Yeah, and that's just one of those where you know what, we've got so many other things going on. We can probably set this guy aside here and move along to the main slate. So let me call up my little weather page here. There are a variety of them out there. There's one for a long time I used. It's called Weather Underground. I've gone away from that and I've picked a couple other sites, but I do want to say we are looking at a hurricane that is about 3 days from landfall that is going to crush, rain anyway, Josh's house. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to, we don't know where it's going from there. So he's already panicking. I'm sure he's stocking up on water and such. Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina have already declared states of emergency to enact the various rules and support units from the National Guard, Red Cross, etc., to get everybody ready for this. So the other issue with all that is we got another set of rain that's coming completely independent for this. So where I'm going with this is there's going to be a lot of issues in the Mid-Atlantic and the East Coast with rain. The tricky part with all of this is they may try to play through some lighter rain that they wouldn't have before, because we're running out of the season here. We're running out of days left. We're running out of potential makeup days, and there's no good weather coming. So some of these teams are going to have issues foreseeably for the next 6 or 7 days. So what I want to say is the normal, hey, we're just going to call this one, we'll do a doubleheader tomorrow. Tomorrow isn't getting much better. And 2 days from now is not getting much better from any of the series that start today or the ones that are starting on Tuesday. So just calling that out. So we want to watch out for Philly. We want to watch out for New York. I don't think they're going to play in New York, is my guess. And then, the Nationals are actually in Philly, but it's been raining for 3 days straight here in DC area. So just wanted to call those out as things to look for, because you may not even want to start your build with one Mr. DeGrom. But let's go with that game first. Let's just assume that we have a Pollyanna type world and there is not going to be any weather issues. So you've got, where is that? Where did that game go? There we go. It's Jeff Brigham, who we talked about briefly in pre-show. Brigham, 26-year-old rookie, made his debut, was a higher round draft pick, came out of the University of Washington, projects as a fifth starter at best. They don't even really project him as a reliever because his stuff just isn't that good enough. He's had a few injuries that have sapped him from his talent that he could play in his younger years. And at this point, he's probably best to be a long man to go out and eat some abusive innings in either mop-up duty either way, as in, hey, I get to pitch before the position players kind of a role. So that's where we are with that. Again, I don't know what's going to happen with the weather, so I'm a little reticent to even start putting any of these guys in my lineups. But we're assuming perfect world, where's DeGrom coming in for you at 13,500 on DraftKings? Yeah,
I love DeGrom if he plays, but like you said, it's looking pretty likely that this game's not going to go very smoothly at the very least. So he's really familiar with this Marlins team. 19 strikeouts and 19 innings, 20 strikeouts in his 3 starts against them. Just doing exactly what you would expect DeGrom to do against a subpar team. So, I mean, he's just so likely for a win here if he goes. There's not even a line out right now. I don't know. It just seems so safe. But he is 13-5, and there are weather concerns. So he's safe if the game goes. But overall, I don't know that you could play a pitcher this expensive if the weather looks this bad.
All right, I think that's more than enough words on that game. Let's move along here to the other weather game, and that is going to be... I turned off my weather page, so now I'm all confused. Back to Philly. So we've got the Nationals in Philadelphia. The Nationals have been rained out 2 of their 3 games against the Cubs this weekend. It looks like they're going to be starting Eric Fetty. We're going to talk about some wild pricing. Lucas Giolito is priced below $5K on DraftKings. So he's going to be someone we talk about a lot, but I think he's going to pick up some steam throughout the industry. We do have a game in Coors Field. We've got some other good offensive environment. So I think not only is Giolito going to be popular, but I think we also want to look at Kansas City going against him. But we're going to look for some pivots here. One of those could be Eric Fetty. Now, as the Nationals fan, I think he's reasonably talented. He flashed a nice strikeout upside finally in his last start. He got 7 there against St. Louis. He looked good back in May, right around Labor Day weekend. He came up for a spot start, and he had a few strikeouts in there. But on the in-betweens, he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. He gets more walks than I would like to see. He's going to go about 5 innings, and that is him being fully stretched out. He burns a lot of pitches, just wasted pitches, or he's a bit of a mess. So the last thing I want to call out for him before turning this over to you is he gives up just shy of a run per inning, and this has been relatively consistent. So he had one magical moment against Boston where he went 1 inning, and that's what we're calling magical because he didn't give up any runs. But on either side of that, he gave up 4 to St. Louis. He gave up 5 in Philadelphia. The game before that, he was at home against Philadelphia. Gave up 3 to the Yankees, and 5 to the Yankees. So he's just been giving up a ton of runs. I don't want to go there, but I think he is the built-in pivot off of Giolito here. What are you looking at for your first blush here, Jim?
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Just a decent pivot to what I expect to be a somewhat chalky Giolito, just because. So he burned everyone last start, right? Myself included. I don't know if you were on that train too.
Oh, I was the conductor leaning out the window saying, "Get out of the way! He's here! He's finally arrived! I've talked bad about him for a year, but I'm on." And we crashed off of the trestle and into the river.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was right there too, but I'm willing to go back there for a $4,700 price tag. And like you said, Fetty's not the most efficient pitcher. So he went 91 pitches, went through 5. Run prevention's probably going to be an issue, but this is another one where you could see him getting 6 or 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. The Phillies do have a bunch of strikeouts in their lineup, and for the season against righties, they're around 25%. So it is a good strikeout matchup, but I think they've got a pretty good chance to get to him with power as well. So that's why I'm a little nervous. Let's say the ownership projections come out and Fetty's at 5% and Giolito's at 25%, then I think he makes for a really logical pivot. But if they're closer in ownership, I lean Giolito's way. So where are you at between him and Giolito just now?
I'm just going to be all over Giolito. I will accept it. I think I am going to get over of the field on ownership of Giolito, but I'm also going to be stacking healthy against him in certain designated lineups and contests. And one way I've been doing that a lot this year, because I'm on my mission here, Jake. I'm going to get my 333,000 DraftKings player points here. I am just about 30,000 strikeouts shy of clearing the 500,000 strikeout milestone. So that will be a lot of fun here. I should finish that up probably about this time next week. And we'll be doing some cartwheels. What I've been doing is mucking around in a lot of the leagues and low-dollar stuff. So what I've been doing here, because for this you have to play unique lineups, so Fantasy Cruncher's been phenomenal for that, but I can't just run 150 because then I start getting duplicates, and it's too hard to run 150 and then create a new 150 and create new player pools and all of that. So I've got to run little segments here. So what I do is I go into these smaller tournaments. You can play it in the quarters, you can play it in the dollars, and generally you are allowed between 1 and about 14 entries. So I will go into one of those and say, okay, how am I going to approach this one? This one I'm going nothing but Kansas City. I'm going to set it so it gives me at least 4 Kansas City players, and then I'm going to do, pick the 2 pitchers I want and let it fill in everything else. Then I might build 5 other ones like that where I'm not playing the Kansas City hitters, and I'm going Giolito, and I'll build those out. Yeah. And what happens is you can really, especially where you win a lot of tickets for this. The ticket contests are incredibly top-heavy. You can turn your 25 cents, you can turn your dollar into the $3 tickets, the $20 tickets. They were doing the $10 tickets. So you want to do something different. So whatever the chalk is, don't play that. Don't cross those guys out of your player pool and do something different. And you do a lot of hit or miss, and you got to be willing and disciplined to do this. But yesterday, just screwing around, I started doing this with football as well. I think I won like 9 tickets into the $16 Fantasy World Baseball or Fantasy Football World Championship contest. I won 4 $20 Millionaire Maker tickets. I won a bunch of $3 tickets and stuff. So you're not necessarily monetizing these low dollar things at first, but you're giving yourself a chance to do so later. So to do these top heavy ones, again, you got to be different. So in these, that's where I'm going to be playing. I think it's just easier to get ahead of the leave it true in those.
Yep. That's an interesting way to use Fantasy Cruncher. So maybe I need to try that out a little bit more, because sometimes I want to hedge against these guys, and I'll make my crunch and I'll like the exposures, but I won't be paying attention to just getting those 3 or 4 stacks out of 150 if that's all it is, where you're stacking, like you're giving yourself sort of an out in case things go poorly for Giolito like they did last start. And I wish I had done that last start against, I think it was Detroit. That ended up being like a 12-run stack, and that would have been, I would have probably made back a bunch of my money that night instead of losing most of it. So yeah, that's just something to think about, and it kind of answers this question we have in chat. Why do you stack, or why do you guys take one pitcher but still stack against him in other lineups? It's just for a kind of a hedge. If you have 150 lineups, you're trying to limit the damage. You're trying to win one tournament. You're not trying to win them all. So you're trying to get one big cash out of your 150 lineups. And the way you do that is by taking pieces of a lot of different things. You're stacking up different teams. You're playing a lot of different pitchers. And this is just how we do it. I mean, I play less pitchers than Josh, for example. And I'd probably go, more aggressive with my stacks. So I'll get like all whatever Dodger stacks on one slate, or all whatever, just split it between 2 stacks and let Cruncher fill in from there. But it's just a hedge. I mean, it's just so you leave yourself an out, as some might call it.
Right, and it's also very unique to baseball. You can't do this in basketball because everybody's going to score points based on minutes. It's always going up. You really can't do this in football because you want to leverage more. You want to go over what the field is doing or less than what the field is doing. But there's not as much, and while football does have a lot of variance, it's not as wildly differing. It's not like, the Ravens are going to go out and give up 5 touchdowns to the Bills.
Yeah.
It's probably an incredibly unlikely outcome. It would not be a shock if, assuming no weather, that somehow Miami gets lucky and rolls 2 or 3 home runs off of DeGrom today. And DeGrom's having a phenomenal year, but that's not impossible. Verlander, great example. Verlander's like what? He allows the 4th most home runs in the league.
Yep. Okay,
great. They're all solo shots.
Right.
What if though he has a few walks and one of those happens? But that's why it works for football or basketball. This is why it works.
Yep.
All right, let's continue on here because we don't want to steal all of the thunder of the upcoming process show that is going to be Josh and
is it Adam?
Adam today.
Yep.
It is Adam today. But reminder, you can use the promo code Strategy Show, and you can get yourself 1 week of free premium Awesemo.com information. Now, I know a lot of our stuff is still in front of the paywall, but you know what's not? The ownership percentages and the projections. And I'm going to tell you, both those right now are something you want to try out. You sign up now, you'll get those through the weekend, which gets you through NFL. Plus, you're going to have 6 awesome days of baseball. And the projections have been fire. They are very dialed in right now. They've been treating us well all season. So again, promo code Strategy Show, and you get the 1 week free trial. That also is going to include, for the time being anyway, Fantasy Cruncher add-on as well. All right, now we're down into the meat of stuff. I think we got rid of all the weather. Let's talk about the good stuff. Corey Kluber going against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Yes, I'm going to call them the Devil Rays because I was still around when they had their initial season, and that's what they used to call them. Apparently, we don't like to use the word devil anymore, which is crazy because we say we have a devil-may-care attitude. We have devil's food cake, but we can't have the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But talk about the Klubot going against this pesky AAA squad. You know what? I'm going to promote them. They're not quite AAA. We're going to call them Quad A. They're not a major league roster, but we're going to give them Quad A status. What are you looking at for this game?
Yeah, Tampa is not a team I just automatically stack against or automatically take pitchers against, but certainly some strikeout upside here for Kluber. And I mean, I was wrong on him a few weeks ago. I thought he was kind of done being the old Kluber, and he's turned it around in every facet of the game. And I think I'm done just fading him when he's at these 11K price tags. Last 2 starts, 8 and 10 strikeouts, 6 and 2/3, and 7 innings in those starts. Just 1 run allowed. You know, he had a decent start against Boston in there, Kansas City. You know, he gave up some runs, but the strikeouts have been there for the most part. The swinging strikes have gone back up. The chases have gone back up. So I'm more apt to think that Kluber is sort of back to where we saw him earlier in the season and last year than what I thought he was a few weeks ago. So I will be having Kluber shares, especially with DeGrom. Just seems like a very safe option here. There's not a lot of power in this Tampa lineup, and the park suppresses power anyways. So I'm on Kluber. I expect him to be probably the most popular pitcher with this DeGrom weather. What about you, Emac?
Yeah, I would completely agree. I've been a little late getting back on the train here, but the matchup is feeling a little too close or a little too tasty to avoid. And you're absolutely right. That weather's going to funnel people to this game. Now, the one thing that is going to keep him from probably going over 30% in popularity, he'll probably be around 30% on the 2 pitcher sides, just because when you look at the last game logs, I mean, 18 strikeouts in his last 14 innings. No home runs allowed, just 3 walks, just 1 run allowed. He's getting nice ground ball rate. He's had 5 total base runners, so that's just pretty amazing. Excellent park upgrade, yada yada yada. We're gonna say all that is good stuff. We still have Coors Field, and we still have some other teams here with some high run totals that we're going to want to look to, and that is probably going to cap him out around 30%. So if you're going to want to get over the field, you're going to need to get up to around 40%. And the question then becomes that each of us is going to have to decide from our decisions is, does that mean we're giving up too much offense? Now, I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case today. We've still got a lot of run lines that aren't out yet. They're the weather games, and then we've got, like in this game, we've got the opener is going to be Diego Castillo. I was trying to poke around and see who was going to be the next guy in, and I haven't seen that.
I'm seeing, yeah. I was just looking at that. It could be Beeks. It could be Faria. I don't know. Are they still using Faria in this long relief slot?
It's hard to tell, especially with them, and we've got the expanded rosters. We're up to 35 now, yeah. So it could be both of them, because Beeks, even though he's that next guy in, some of his outings he only goes 3 innings because he burns through 60 pitches pretty quick. So we could see both of them. It could be one or the other. That's where I'm kind of, at this point, I'm a little nervous to take whoever that next guy is. I mean, when we knew it was going to be Yarborough, when we knew it was going to be a specific guy, and I'm blanking on the guy that they did this for a few times, and they went back down and got hurt in Durham. But those were better deals. Now these guys are priced up, and because there are so many extra arms in the bullpen, I don't think we're going to get 5 innings from them. It might be 3 and change, and that's just not enough at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. Because if it is Beeks, I would have a little bit of interest. I haven't seen his price just yet.
6,800 on BK.
Oh, 68?
Yep. Oh, he's 50% more than Lucas Giolito.
Yeah. All right. So I was thinking more like 5,600, 55K type of thing. 6,800, and you don't know if he's going more than 3 innings, 4 innings, and it's not a great matchup. So it was going to be more of a price play and a talent play, just trusting Beeks. And because Cleveland's been so bad against lefties lately, a 58 WRC plus since August 1st against lefties. But probably going to scratch that. At 6,800, you could do better than that, like Giolito or Fetty, for way cheaper. So I like Lindor, Ramirez, Brantley pretty much anytime they're on the slate. So that's where the majority of my Cleveland exposure is going to be, per usual. So I don't know. Do you have any interest in Cleveland bats or Tampa bats for that matter?
I think I'm going to skip out on both these guys, and I'm going to try to. And the reason I'm going to have to do that is I want to try to get over the field on the Coors hitters, as well as Kluber. And if I'm going to do that, I don't think I can have Cleveland as well.
True. Yep, that's fair. So I'm more likely.
But I think they're a totally fine play. And if you're not a believer in Coors, or you like the fact that it's Marquez and Godley, and those guys are reasonably excellent pitchers, etc., then maybe you forget those guys. Then Cleveland would be the next most favorable place to go, since Boston's not on the slate today.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Let's keep on keeping on here. We've got, let's see. Oh, that was all the 7 o'clock games. Good. Now we're on the 8 o'clock games, and I'll go back to going in order. We have the Brew Crew against the Cubbies. Wade Miley, John Lester, a couple of lefties here that are having amazing seasons. From the old back of the baseball card numbers, that would be ERA, WHIP to a lesser extent. If you look at their underlying metrics, no bueno, not good times here. Miley's a little bit more infuriating than Lester. I would definitely consider stacking on both sides of this. We do not have the wind blowing out. It's lightly coming in from the outfield, about 5 to 7 miles per hour. It's only going to be about 66 degrees here, and there'll be a little bit of humidity, but I don't really worry about what humidity is until we get it in some sort of combination to about 140. But I need the temperature to be at least 80 before I'm going to strongly consider what humidity is doing in the Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, and the East Coast. Forget about humidity on the West Coast. It's an entirely a thing because it's relative humidity that we care about, but not everybody reports on relative humidity. Back to this game, though. Skipping the hitter or pitchers, I'm considering stacks for the Brewers. I'm not actually going to go with the Cubs. I'm just going to cross them off because the Brew Crew does have a good bullpen, and every game counts, Jake, because we are in playoff mode and seeding and trying to get the wild card and or the division titles. So I think we got all these fresh arms for the Brewers. I'm staying away from the Cubbies. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm much more likely to stack the Brewers here, full stack. I will have, Chris Bryant and like Javi Baez and Bodie against Wade Miley, some more dynamic duo stacks than 5-mans if I'm running 5-mans. But most of my interest here is in the Brewers. So I wrote them up as a spotlight stack. Just like Lester, he's a guy that people I think still don't stack against. He's had good results this year. But the underlying numbers, especially against righties, like he's giving up a ton of line drives, very little hard contact, a 460 xFIP, but like the ERA and stuff is all good. So maybe people just think that he's doing something to kind of win over these advanced stats that are supposedly predictive. So anyways, I'm on Braun, Scope, Aguilar. I love those guys. Lorenzo Cain leading off. There's still some stolen base upside with Cain and Yelich against Lester, even though he's been better at holding runners this year. So the top half of that lineup I really like for the Brewers on a slate where I'm kind of having trouble finding a ton of pitching or a ton of hitting that I like because I don't really love the Coors guys. I
concur. Sign and cosign. Let's continue on here. Again, this is our first look show. If you have not yet signed up for Osmo, I'm going to give you a way to get 7 free days to get the projections and the ownership percentages. That is, go to Osmo.com where it says the little coupon code, the little discount code. Type in Strategy Show, all one word. You're going to get 1 free week of Osmo.com. That is going to come along with the Fantasy Cruncher add-on that we are bringing into the fold. We're in beta mode right now for that. That is no price on that just yet. There will be soon enough, but we're going to get that all set up to be loading in the Osmo projections, which course are the fan bias driven ones, and then the Osmo, the real Osmo, Alex, is proprietary ownership percentages we'll be getting in there as well. So this is something you start out now. You're going to get 6 awesome days of baseball, and then you got football, baby. It's going to be a good time. The Yankees, the Twinks, couple of intriguing pitchers here. I hear what you're saying. I'm finding not a lot of offense because I want the pitching here now. Kyle Gibson, I think I'm just going to have to pass on, but I really don't want to take any of the Yankees. So we're going to cross that side off. However, J.A. Happ, I'm interested in playing both sides of this. He's intriguingly priced at $9,300 on DraftKings. That's a nice discount of about $1,800 from one Corey Kluber. That's worth probably 2 upgraded bats. or not taking Lucas Giolito in your lineup, and that will do something intriguing. That said, I think a lot of people are going to end up that way, and I think looking for a terrific trio. We like the dynamic duos, Jake. We're doubling down with the terrific trios, or the trios to target, because I love alliteration. But I think you can look to Polanco, Forsythe, and Grossman as a nice little trio. Or if you want to get rid of your catcher spot, go with Mr. Mitch Garver and Forsythe and Grossman. And that's going to be something where they're going to come in rather cheap. And that's going to give you your Kluber lineup. On the other side, you go with J.A. Happ, and that's going to get you off Lucas Giolito. So playing both sides of this particular pairing, I'm going to wave off the Kyle Gibson and the Yankees side. How are you approaching this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, Happ is definitely interesting. He's going to get actually not as many lefties as I would have imagined with the Twins. They've kind of flipped the script. They used to be a really lefty-heavy team earlier in the season, and I still kind of think of them that way, but I'm only seeing Kepler in the lineup, and he actually hits lefties really well. So maybe a tougher matchup for Happ than I originally thought. The Twins are super, super cheap, but I would caution against full stacking them because of that Yankees pen. Teams are just so much more likely later in the season when they have something to play for, and the Yankees do, to pull their starters early, especially if it's not their ace. So that's what I'm worried about with such a strong bullpen in the Yankees and Happ. And that's why I'm worried about playing the Twins bats here at all, besides maybe Tyler Austin. Gibson has been awesome this entire year. He's run into a couple tough matchups lately at Cleveland, at Houston, so the results don't look that great. The strikeouts have still been there, and this is actually, I think, a pretty good matchup for him. Mostly righties, and his best pitch is that slider, and it gets some of the most whiffs per swing of any pitch in the entire MLB, right behind like Corbin, and I think Felix Pena are the only two guys ahead of him for sliders this year. So if he can get ahead of these Yankees, and I think he can, for 8,100 and probably very little ownership, I really like Gibson in GPPs.
This is a good one, and we're going to use this to tie in and tease the upcoming process show. For those of you that are going to be on your third cup of coffee and trying to avoid a little bit of work, you're going to get Josh and Adam mid-morning here. Adam is someone that has been following Kyle Gibson for incredibly closely for the last 2 years. He was looking to call his breakout at some point last year and finally just threw his hands up. Guess what? The breakout occurred this year. He slightly changed his pitch mix better. He's still not to where Adam and Laffy, and I'm sure that now that Josh has some other seam heads to talk to, he's going to be on board with that as well. So I'm curious to see what their breakdown is, Jake, of this game, because we could see Gibson at maybe 10, 15% today with that terrifying matchup against the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, if he's 10 or 15%, I have a little bit less interest in him because you always want the low-owned guy, and it's not like you're getting a huge discount on Gibson.
Oh, you think he'll be less than that? You think he'll be in the 5 to 7% range?
Yeah, I think so. At least that was my read originally. I think Happ will be more owned than Gibson. People will see this near 5 total against him, and that'll scare some people off, which I understand. But that has more to do with the Twins bullpen than Gibson, I think. I think Vegas actually really respects Gibson. They have all year, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know that Gibson's a better pitcher than Happ, but I think he's got more upside in this matchup than Happ does if things are going well for him. You got a bunch of swing and miss righties like Sanchez, Stanton, McCutchen will strike out righty, Voit, Gleiber. There's a lot of swing and miss if he's throwing that slider down and away.
All right. We ready for the next one here?
Yep.
It's we've got, oh good God, is that Adam Wainwright? For those of you that have been out of school for a while, we're gonna quiz Jake here. Jake, do you know what a Wainwright makes or repairs? I'm giving you a hint there.
I have no idea.
Wagons.
I would have never guessed that.
And carts. More often than not, the Wainwright in town back in the wild west would repair the wagon wheels, which by the way would break all the time because let's load a ton of things on basically stair banister spokes with a strip of metal going around them, and it's really hard to make a circle out of wood that is strong. So they had it's what we call job security. Wainwright's third Dragons. I'm going to leave him aside. He has not pitched since March. Prior to that, he did not pitch since mid-April. Unfortunately, though he came on with a splash a decade ago, Wainwright is just beaten up and broken down. So I'm going to pass on him and not even really consider him. I'm okay with some of the Pittsburgh hitters here, but this is going to be a fill-in type stack for me because I think we're going to get a fair amount of the Cardinals bullpen, and they are in the playoff mix, so I don't think they're going to screw around too much with Wainwright. On the other side, we got Trevor Williams, who has pitched very well his last few games. One issue with that, though, he's 9,000 now on DraftKings, Jake. 9,000 is not the friendly 7,200, 7,600 price point that I would like for a matchup going against the Redbirds. Now, the one thing we do have in our favor is he's relatively split control. That would be one Trevor Williams. So we're not really taking advantage of that fully righty lineup as much as we could, but I still think that Williams is going to get some consideration because he's in that sweet spot, and I think his pricing is going to be missed out on here, or because he's right there by Happ, he's well below Kluber, or if you're not going with Kluber, you're going to dip down to the level of guys we're going to talk about in the upcoming games here, including one Jake Junis. So I think he's going to get lost in the mix. Can we do anything with that is the big question.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I mean, at least I don't think I can. I just don't see a scenario in which fading Williams at 9K is going to kill me. So stealing kind of Loppy's phrase, I just like that way of looking at things, especially this late in the year. What's his actual upside? Because he's not going to do it with strikeouts a ton, I don't think. So if he gets to 22 or 23, yeah, it's not going to feel great fading him, but I think you can find that elsewhere, like in a Gibson or a Happ, either of those two guys. And so as an MME player, it's pretty easy for me to go with very, very little Williams, if any at all. And then Wainwright, so you mentioned he hasn't thrown in the MLB since May, but he did have 2 rehab starts, or actually a handful of rehab starts. The last 2 in AAA, he went 61 and 90 pitches, so he is pretty stretched out, which I wasn't expecting to see. And he's at home. He's probably going to be a favorite or close to it. And he's just cheap and he's stretched out. So there's your case for Wainwright. I don't love targeting against Pittsburgh, really. There are a few lefties in here that are concerning, like Dickerson and Bell, but I will have some Wainwright exposure. This game's just not that interesting overall to me from a hitting perspective.
All right, here's the final verdict on Wainwright. He's closer to me in age than he is to you in age. I'm going to cross him off my list. Oh, but you know why I'm crossing him off? Because I got some pitching coming up here. I got some pitching, and I'm going to take the hitting against it. But let's talk about the White Sox, the Kansas City Royals. We've hinted around it. It is a mess. I've gone from just blatantly targeting against both these guys to now I'm picking them up in all of my remaining season-long leagues. Yes, we're down to the home stretch here, and we're streaming pitchers. Well, we got Lucas Giolito. Excuse me. He's going in a reasonably good matchup here against Kansas City. Outside of his last start, he rattled off half a dozen very nice outings. Remember, he was a #1 pick for the Washington Nationals. He and Ronaldo Lopez were the keystones of the trade that brought Adam Eaton over to the Nationals 2 seasons ago. It looks like he's starting to put this together. If he was 6,700, I would consider playing him. He is 4,700 on DraftKings. It allows a ton of flexibility. I think he's going to be at about 25 to 30% ownership. So I'm willing to go against him because, hey, this track record is about 6 games long. So what are your thoughts here on Giolito? And then we'll talk Junis because I've got more thoughts on him too. And at 8,500, we need thoughts. We need positive thoughts on Jake Junis. Yeah,
so Giolito, the way I'm thinking of it is if he would have gone out and just had an okay start last time out, I think he would be mega chalk at this price, or even like a 6K price tag. I think everybody would be in on him. And whatever, he had 6 good starts in a row before that. Are we just going to throw it out because of one bad start? I don't think I can. especially not for 4,700. It's a good matchup against Kansas City. They have a bunch of strikeouts, especially in the bottom of that lineup with Phillips, Goodwin, and Bonifacio. Dozier strikes out a bunch, Mondesi as well. So if he's got it working like he had been, or he has been 6 out of his last 7 starts, then for 4,700, I mean, he could easily get you to 15 here in just a few innings. And he's a guy that at that price, he could wreck the slate if he gets 25. So yeah, I'm going to be all over Giolito. I hope he's not too chalky. I cannot believe I'm playing a chalk Giolito 2 starts in a row. It seems absurd, but it's just too good of a price for a guy that's fully stretched out.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Now you're going to hear a lot of people just end up with the analysis. He's too cheap. We've got to play him. Blah blah blah. No. At this point in the season, we're going to see more of this because we've got the expanded rosters, the September call-ups, and as the AAA teams are finishing up their playoffs, we're going to see even more guys show up here. In the bigs, a lot of guys have that aren't going to the Arizona Fall League do have some contractual obligations where it says, hey, we're going to be called up at the end of the year and get a couple weeks on the roster. There's no guarantee of playing time, and we see that more with the position players, but they're going to bring up some pitchers too. And some of these guys are going to have not pitched in a week or two. They're going to be fresh again, and this is going to be, quote, their last start before being shut down for the season or their last appearance. So there's going to be other people like Giolito that we're going to see in the next 3 weeks. But Giolito is the major league guy. He has the track record, at least the talent base. He's put it together a little bit. Those are the reasons you want to go for him today, because we're going to find some pitchers that are just not in that situation as well that are getting starts. Hence like the Ariel Gerardo and other players like that. So moving to the other side here, what the hell has happened to one Jake Junis? Because he was at one point leading the league in home runs allowed, and Laffy and Adam like to say home runs don't come in 2s with him; they come in 3s. Well, I'm here to say that in his last 9 starts, he has allowed just 3 home runs. In the less than 20 in the 19 starts before that, he allowed. I've closed that page. He allowed about 25 home runs. So he was literally had a home run per 9 against lefties and righties that was over 2. That has all changed. He is now 8,500. I am going to be pairing Jake Junis and Lucas Giolito together. That is something I would have never thought I would say back in April. And here we are. And I'm comfortable doing it. Save me from myself. Am I missing anything?
I don't think you're missing anything. He has definitely missed bats a ton better. You just see the jump in swinging strikes, and especially against righties. And now, so I wasn't fully in on Junis, and I still don't know that I am yet. It's going to depend on ownership, but that start against Cleveland, 7 innings, 6 strikeouts in Cleveland, it's really tough to do for any righty, and he did it. So, people are probably fully bought in at this point, or close to it, and you see 8,500, you see the White Sox on the other side. I think he should be giving up a little bit more power than he has been. Not to completely rain on his parade, because he has been better, but the line drive rate is still way up in some of these starts over his last 9 you mentioned. And that's quite a concern. And the hard contact is up as well. So maybe getting a little bit lucky. So I'm not fully in on Junis. I actually like the White Sox stack. Just as a leverage play, I'm expecting Junis to be the popular guy in this range, because people love targeting against the White Sox, myself included. But the one thing they do have is power, and they've got some lefty power, they've got some righty power. But like Delmonico and Palka and Narvaez, these guys, Moncada, all guys that I really want to have pieces of in tournaments tonight. So I'm going to be underweight on Junis, it's looking like, and overweight on the White Sox.
Yeah, and so here's another strategy thing. Now, the White Sox are going to be one hell of a complementary stack, and we say that you can have your primary stack and get your pitchers, and then it's going to start throwing some White Sox in there because of their pricing, especially on DraftKings. I mean, Nicky Delmonico leading off 3,100. Omar Narvaez, as you mentioned, he's just been an on-base machine over the last 30 days. He's 3K at you get that pesky catcher out of the way. You can fill it out with Palka. He's 3,800. We know he has 2 home run upside. Good God, Is that Jose Abreu potentially coming back?
Yeah.
What was his surgery? Was he the...
I was under the impression he was done for the season.
I thought he was as well. It says abdomen. It doesn't...
Well, I mean, why bring him back?
I thought it was a little lower than the abdomen is why I'm asking that. So,
oh, really?
I'm not sure if... what you know what? Core? Let's just call it the core. That's going to affect his swing, right?
For sure. Yeah, and why bring him back in a lost season in September unless he's fully healthy, right? Or am I thinking about this in the wrong way?
No, I think we're thinking about this in the right way, and it's the White Sox. Enough said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you bring him back if you don't think there's a chance at re-injury, or if you so whatever. I mean, I'm playing him. Got to assume he's
all right. This is from the big lead. So Jose Abreu recovering from the worst injury ever. This is their headline, so I'm allowed to say this now. Jose Abreu is recovering from having surgery last month. The White Sox do expect him to play in mid-September. So what ailment felled the large Cuban slugger? You may not want to know. On Tuesday, Abreu confirmed he had testicle torsion and needed to undergo emergency surgery.
Oh.
His boys got twisted.
Playing or what? Was he playing?
I
God.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That sucks. Wow. That doesn't sound fun, but at least it's not a core injury, you know? I don't know. It seems like once that heals, you're probably good, right?
I don't know. I don't ever want to know. Firsthand.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that. So anyway, looks like he is coming back here. Does we kind of mentioned you're liking the White Sox, especially on DK. They're I think in some spots you may want to strongly consider making them your primary stack, going for another not Coors Field, not the Indians, and going for another stack that's going to be about the 5th or 6th most popular, and then trying to get 2 of the best pitchers, Kluber and somebody else tonight. That's going to be a build. That would be one where I'd use in the ticket contests, like I was saying before, these low-dollar, top-heavy tournaments that are fun. The other reason I saw somebody was pinging me here, they were saying, why are you doing these kind of tournaments? Well, you know what? I'd rather turn my quarters, my $2 in quarters into a $20 ticket than play $2 or $3 in whatever the top heavy contests are, min cash, and make $1.50 on that.
Yeah, I mean, might as well.
These large field tournaments are not worth it anymore, guys and gals. They're not. I'll get the tickets into them and then I'll play them, but otherwise, I don't like to play them anymore. I don't feel that it's worth it, particularly at this time of the year. Everybody left is still a pretty good player.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they definitely get tougher as the season goes on. We don't really have the free money Monday, do we, anymore? So.
Not as much as it used to be. There's a lot of sites like us. Back in the day when it was really happening, there weren't starting lineup pages. Twitter was in its infancy.
Yeah. And
people would play pitchers that were not starting, like a Verlander or a Clayton Kershaw, and they were not starting.
Oh, God.
Those were the days, folks. Those were the days. That's once upon a time. All right, we got 3 more games here to go. We got the Diamondbacks. We got the Rockies. This one is going to be intriguing. I am completely waving off Diamondbacks. Not really interested in them. One, I usually don't like people that are going at their first game in tours if they have not been at altitude, which is really, really, really hard to be at altitude, unless you're Diamondbacks, which they play a little higher on some of the stadiums, but you can't really get at altitude and get acclimated in time to get into the Rockies for that first game. After that, all bets are off, and this is one of those, if you play that strategy throughout the entire season, generally will work out to your benefit. It's baseball, weird stuff can happen. We also are facing Herman Marquez, who's been a phenomenal pitcher, hat tip to Adam. This is a guy that we argued about at the end of last season and the start of this season. I am completely sold in on board with Herman Marquez. He has been absolutely phenomenal, and I think he's just going to not allow the upside to be unleashed for the Diamondbacks. So that's crossing me off the Diamondbacks. I'm not sure if I'm ready to play Marquez yet. We'll have to see what Adam has to say about that, but I do think it's an intriguing matchup. On the other side, we have Godley at 6,400. Reasonable matchup. Remember, most of the time, pitchers usually come in a day, two before the rest of the team when they're coming into their next series or road trip, so they get a good night's sleep and don't have to worry about mucked up travel or anything like that. So he's been in Denver. Pitching changes in Denver. Breaking balls don't break as much. You want your ground ball pitchers, etc. Godley's reasonably good, and at 6,400, he's okay. The only place I think I would play him, Jake, would be on the later slates, though.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, so, yeah, just two really good pitchers. Marquez, my God, this guy, he just looks like one of the best pitchers in the MLB right now. So, I feel like I was on him pretty early. I don't know. I'm sure Adam was on him even earlier, seeing his pitch mix and how his pitches move, but just like looking at the swinging strike rate, his last 10 starts, 12 starts, it doesn't matter. He is just looks unhittable, and he kind of has had those results. 11 strikeouts, I think his last start, 13 the start before that. He's been amazing. Inside of Coors, outside of Coors, doesn't really matter. 4.5 run total for the Diamondbacks is pretty low. First game in Coors, gonna be tough to get acclimated. I don't know. I don't really know how to quantify that. I'm sure that's quantified in Vegas somehow. So I just look more at the line for that. And then, yeah, I just don't want to target against either of these guys. Godley's had success in Coors before, as early as this year, or as recently as this year. So I actually like both of these guys. Playing two pitchers in Coors on a 10-game slate seems kind of ridiculous, but when you look at these guys, it's hard not to at their prices.
Yeah, and I would say we're getting neutral-ish weather. Around first pitch, it's going to be cooling off relatively rapidly, but it's still going to be in the low 80s. Mm-hmm. There in Denver, we have a light breeze blowing out, and we do know that the temperature actually really does enhance the Coors Field effect. Again, that said, the way that both these pitchers pitch, not seeing the home run upside, it doesn't mean they're not going to give up a bunch of doubles and gappers and all that stuff, which once strung together can make for a bad outing. But this is lining up where I'm not as enthralled with the offenses, and we're going to be considering the pitchers, I think, and that's something that's kind of fun. Another game where we're going to consider the pitchers here. We've got the Rangers. We've got the Angels. 73 degrees in LA, so not nearly that warm. And we have a light breeze blowing out. We know that Angels Stadium is one of the more pitching-friendly venues. We have Mike Minor, the lefty, going against Jaime Barria, who is a righty. I'm actually interested in Mike Minor because the Angels have been on the season one of the more poorer performing teams against lefties up and down the lineup. And yeah, while Trout is good and Upton is good, they no longer, they've traded off Kinsler. They really don't have anybody else. We don't have the Chris Iannetta at catcher this season. You're starting to cross a bunch of players off, and they're not nearly as daunting at all, particularly from a power perspective. From there, Fletcher's not going to scare us. Simmons is certainly not going to scare us. Who is it? Maybe Jeffrey Marte plays, or one of their other craptastic righties. But I don't really see anybody here that's making me nervous. So here I am, full slate, not only the late slate, but full slate. I'm probably going to be playing some Mike Minor here, and I'm thinking I'm willing to go as high as 20%, and I think that'll probably double the field.
Yeah, I think you're pretty safe doubling the field there with 20%. He's just not a super high ceiling guy. He has been much better. So I'm not just full stacking the Angels.
We're gonna game log watch here, Jake. I'm cherry picking. I'll give you one of his last 6 starts. I'll take the other 5 with 20 plus DraftKings points.
Yeah.
You can have the 8 spot. It was against the Yankees. I'll give you that one. It was bad.
No, the results are fine, but unless he's getting up there 28, something like that, 27, 26, you're going to be sitting pretty with that. But there still aren't a ton of strikeouts for the Angels here. You got Trout back. Upton can obviously hit lefties. Fletcher doesn't really strike out. Neither does Anderson Simmons. So I'm just kind of worried about his upside. Like you said, the Angels have been pretty poor against lefties the whole season. It doesn't really make sense. Ohtani can hit lefties as well. So I think I'm off Minor. And I don't know. What are you doing with Barria? There definitely some interest, a ton more swing and miss on the Texas side, especially with guys like Odor and Gallo, Chirinos, Guzman. Like, I don't know. I just could see Barria getting a bunch of strikeouts here.
And that's where I'm going to be okay with him. Now, his weakness has been righties for whatever reason. He was more kind of what we would call splits neutral down in the minors, but basically through, 460 batters, 229 against lefties, 231 against righties. Righties are like twice as good against him as lefties. I don't think that is going to fully be the case. I have watched a few of his starts because I took him against the Mariners a couple times. That did not go in my favor. I don't have a discerning enough eye to fully understand the talent and why righties are getting him more, but the swinging strike rate is there. I mean, it's at 11% thus far this season. We'd like to see a few more ground balls, a few less fly balls, but those are, not barely worse than league average at this point. So I like what I'm seeing here. The reason that I'm still probably going to play him is we're at the park downgrade from Texas into Los Angeles. It's 20 degrees cooler. It's a bigger let me rephrase that. While it's not that bigger park than Texas, the hitting environment makes it play bigger, and it's a top 5 pitchers park. So if this game were in Texas, I would not be playing Barria, but because it is in LA, I'm giving him some strong consideration as well. And this is where I'm saying, hey, I think this is going to be a fun slate because there are a lot of different ways that this can go. And if this will be the 5th time he's faced Texas, and he's held his own. I mean, 21 innings, 19 strikeouts, and he's only allowed 22 base runners. So that's 1 base runner an inning against Texas. Gotta like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the appeal. Just good park. Definitely some strikeout appeal, and he's not supposed to be highly owned. Our projection just came out. One of the lowest owned pitchers on the slate. He may jump up a little bit because people like to target against Texas outside of Texas, which has been a profitable strategy this year. So yeah, I do like Barria. I will have a bunch of shares of him and probably no shares of Minor. I do like Trout and Upton and Ohtani against him quite a bit.
All right, let's hit on our last game of the night, then we will get on out of here. We have the Atlanta Braves heading into San Francisco to take on the Giants. It is one Derek Rodriguez this evening going against Sean Newcomb. Newcomb's kind of intriguing, and he has been, crappy over kind of his last month and a half, but he does have some underlying talent here. The AT&T Park effect of being in one of the greatest pitching environments, going against a team that is going to be starting players that do not scare me one bit, make me very interested in Newcomb. And this is one where I'm really looking forward to utilizing the Osmo ownership percentages throughout the day to figure out where Newcomb is going to be. I want to be higher than the field on him. I have pledged my love at various times for Derek Rodriguez. I don't think I'm going there tonight. It's just because there are multiple other pitchers, such as Happ, such as Junis, etc., heck, even Mike Minor, that are in a very similar price point that I would much rather play than Derek Rodriguez. I don't see tournament winning upside from Rodriguez, so I'm not really interested in him tonight. That said, I'm not really lining up to take the Braves. So for me, this is kind of going to be Newcomb or bust in this game, but I do want to get ahead of the field on Newcomb. For those of you that want to get ahead of the field on Newcomb, use the promo code Strategy Show, all one word. Sign up for Osmo.com. You're going to get a week of free content. That's the premium stuff, and I know we got a lot of stuff in front of the paywall, but the good stuff's behind the paywall. You get the projections, and you get the ownership percentages, and you can slap those into Fantasy Cruncher, and you can have a lot of fun. Get 6 days of baseball, and then focus on NFL this weekend. Give us a try. Come on, it's free. Promo code Strategy Show. What is your strategy for the final game this evening, Jake?
Yeah, so looking at our ownership projections, it seems like people will be on Newcomb, and that makes sense. He's 7,300. He's a guy that people have liked at times this year, and he's in the best pitcher's park of the night for sure, and probably the best in the MLB against a pretty poor team. So I get the Newcomb love. If he starts being super chalky, oh wait, okay, almost exited out the stream there for a second. If he's, so that could have been bad, but we are on our last game. So, anyways, Newcomb has been pretty poor, but it is a good situation. So I'm not willing to eat 20+% chalk on him, so I'm going to be under the field if he sticks around where he's at right now. And I actually like Longoria and Hundley against him quite a bit, and Darno to some extent. So you could even get to a little bit of a mini Giants stack if you want to go against Newcomb. He does have walk issues, gives up some hard contact and such. And then I'm just not a Derek Rodriguez believer. He's someone that I think has been really lucky in terms of the quality of contact he's given up. On the season, 45% hard hit rate, just 11% soft hit rate, a ton of line drives, 26.5%. That's one of the highest rates of anyone on the slate tonight. And he pitches at home. He gets, you're kind of able to get away with that in AT&T. But I love Freddie Freeman here, and I'll be playing some Nick Markakis and some Ozzie Albies as well.
Fair enough. The one reason I don't think Newcomb will gain as much traction throughout the day, and I think he'll lose it, is if people click on that little game log button. 3 of his last 4 starts, he's combined for 8 points. The other one, it was a 30-burger. So that was against Miami. That's the upside we're looking at. But, he's had some tougher matchups against the Boston, or tougher showings against the Boston, Tampa Bay, Colorado, negative against Milwaukee. But you keep going back, you see the good mixed with the bad with this guy. So I'm okay rolling the dice on this one. Again, I'm doing a lot of lineups, spreading things out, and coming at stuff from a bunch of different angles tonight. So I'm willing to absorb more risk when I'm doing that. I will be utilizing Fantasy Cruncher to do that. I'm not building the 150. I'm targeting my contests and doing specific builds for each one or each grouping of my contests. I usually build them out between 20 and 40 lineups per crunch. Lately, I've been playing about 400 lineups a night. So I'm looking forward to that being done. But like I said, I'm only 30,000 strikeouts away from getting that $333,000 FPP bonus or crown bonus these days on DraftKings. And I've been black tier this month, and I'll be black tier next month. They give you cash now, DK bucks.
Yeah.
Already, I've gotten 250 DK bucks so far this month. Thanks, DraftKings.
Not bad. Free money's always nice, right?
That's our free money Monday. There you go. There's your tip. All right, what do we got for some crunches? And let's get on out of here, because I got a work meeting. Even though I'm from home today, I am calling into some conference calls.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. EMAC, you might be frozen here, but that's all right.
All right.
We're about done. So we're just gonna stop this crunch right here. All right. So, what team do you want to look at?
I would like to see where the White Sox are landing, because that's the one that they're so cheap. I want to see what a White Sox and Kluber lineup brings us.
Let's run some White Sox. We will lock Kluber. These are just the Fantasy Cruncher projections, so I edited a few to try to get more Kluber. We'll make 10 of these.
So while you're doing that, I need to remind everybody, this is from Josh, smash that like button. It helps us out. It's the way to go. Every little bit helps.
Come on, Josh. He's trolling right there, saying smash that like button. All right, so here we go. We got a couple lineups on the screen right now. Kluber, Arrieta, Castillo, Davidson, Anderson, Polka, Delmonico. I mean, I like this. And then with the Rockies fillers, I like that if you are going against Godley. That's probably how I would attack him, with guys like Blackman and Arenado, just power guys. So I don't know. What do you think of that Rockies lineup, if you can see it on delay here?
I do like that one a little bit. The one concern we do have is weather there in that Philly game where we didn't really focus. We talked about Fetty, but we didn't really talk about Arrieta. He's reasonably priced, but I think that game's gonna. I wouldn't take pitching in that game.
Okay.
Is I guess the way I would say that.
So you
but at 6,700, I think we're gonna find somebody. Oh yeah, we could do a Giolito. We could do a Junis. We could do a Minor, even though you said you weren't as thrilled with Minor.
Yeah, I mean you can. Yeah, let's see here. We'll change all players to 100%. Try this out. So here's some more with Kluber. We got a Kluber Marquez with the White Sox.
Okay, that's pretty nice. Like that.
So you'll see that come up in a second here. So Sanchez, McCutchen, Rondon, and Anderson, Polka, Delmonico, Matt Davidson. Oh, that's pretty nice.
Those would be the ones I would definitely look towards.
Yeah. Let's see what the audience is looking at here. Does anybody want any stacks?
What if you just lock in Giolito, see what it gives you? I bet it'll give you Coors and the Yankees is my guess.
Lock in Giolito. Tell Josh to get on Giolito. There. So this is right on Osmo.com, by the way. If you guys can see this, this is yeah, you can see the logo up there, right on Osmo.com. Oh, what were we doing? Oh, we were locking in Giolito. Here we go. And let's include all and 25% randomness. Let's do 20 more teams. Wow. Yeah, so you can get full Coors with Sanchez, Stanton, Encarnacion. Wow. So Giolito's going to be popular.
Yep.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. Wow. Cleveland fillers with full Diamondbacks and Coors. I know it's against Marquez, but and Kluber. Jeez. So Giolito just makes everything happen. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Someone wanted Godley and Giolito. We get any of those?
Probably not. Well, how much? You got a lot of Coors, so we may not have Godley in there.
Yeah, I don't see Godley, Giolito, but it would be similar to what you're saying.
Go to that. Go to lineup with the Kluber and Giolito. Any of those?
Here, right here.
Yeah, there's a couple. I am on a little delay, but there's a couple. Yeah. Okay, so that one's going Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So Giolito just, I mean, you see why people are going to be on him. Optimizers are going to love him just because even if he's projected for 10 points, that's 2 times value. That's going to be a lot more value than what other pitchers are giving you. So, yeah. Going to be fun. Yeah, I'm ready to get on out of here if you are, EMAC. I know you got a meeting.
I'm good. So let's do that. Don't forget promo code Strategy Show. Get you 1 week of Awesemo.com. That is the stuff behind the paywall, which is Awesemo. That's Alex himself, Alex Baker, aka Awesemo. His proprietary lineup ownership percentages in all sports, and then you're gonna get the fan bias projections. Man, we've been folded in here nicely with Awesemo.com joining forces, and that is a sight to behold. Plus, hey, look, we've got Fantasy Cruncher here. What more can you ask for? This is everything. That Fantasy Cruncher is going to be an add-on, but right now it's free. So jump on in, promo code Strategy Show. Give us a look. Get in 6 days of baseball plus your NFL weekend content. I'm good to go now. I've shilled. I'm ready for another soda and my meeting for this morning.
Yeah, guys, tune in to the Process Show coming up in about 40 minutes, 11 Eastern with Adam and Josh. They'll be talking Kyle Gibson, I'm sure Lucas Giolito will be in there, Marquez, all your favorite pitchers. They'll talk about kind of their approach to the slate, how they're going to come up with their lineups tonight. And it's always a show I tune into since its birth a couple weeks ago, and I will continue to do that. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I will see you later for Live Before Lock.